to build their first VR app, and users have installed over 50 million cardboard-enabled apps. We think that's pretty good for what is, after all, just a piece of cardboard. Now, we love cardboard, and for us, it represents so much of what we think VR should be about. It should be mobile, it should be approachable, it should be for everyone. But we knew it was just a start, because there's a limit to how much you can do, how immersive an experience you can create with some cardboard, and with phones that were really only meant to be phones. We wanted to create something that has the best attributes of cardboard, but which is also comfortable, richly interactive, and far more immersive. But to create that kind of immersion, then you have to solve, to make your brain say, yep, I'm somewhere else, you have to solve a lot of really hard problems across all parts of the VR experience. You have to design a system that's capable of rendering at very high frame rate and resolution. To make the experience really comfortable, you have to minimize what's called motion-to-photon latency. That's the delay between when you move your head and when the picture updates to reflect that motion. And you need to solve for how you interact with things in VR. When you nail those things, it just feels like you're there. Well, we've been working on these problems and more. And now what we've built won't be available until this fall, but we'd like to introduce you to it today. We call it Daydream. Daydream is our platform for high-quality mobile virtual reality. In it are all of the ingredients you need to create incredible immersive VR experiences. Now, over time, Daydream will encompass VR devices in many shapes and sizes. But today, it's about how Daydream will enable high-quality VR on Android smartphones. There are three parts to it. The smartphones themselves, including VR optimizations to Android N, a reference design for a headset and a controller, and apps, both how you get them through Google Play and the apps themselves. We've designed and built each part in concert with the others, with the focus on getting the end-to-end user experience just right. So let's start with smartphones. Now, the first thing we did was look at what it takes to build a smartphone that's great at being a smartphone, but also at being the core of a VR system. And with input from the major silicon vendors and smartphone manufacturers, we've created a set of phone specifications for VR. We call phones that meet these specs Daydream ready. And the specs include things like high-performance sensors for accurate head tracking, displays with a fast response time to minimize blur, and powerful mobile processors. And if a phone meets these specs, it'll be capable of delivering a great VR experience. But the smartphone itself, it's only part of the story. The operating system, the software, it needs to be able to make use of all of these capabilities, all while keeping latency to an absolute minimum. So we've introduced what we call VR mode as part of Android N. We've worked at all levels of the Android stack to optimize it for VR. We focused in particular on performance and latency, which we brought down to under 20 milliseconds. By adding things like single buffer rendering and VR system UI, so notifications and alerts come through properly in VR. And all of this makes for a really comfortable VR experience that we think users are going to love. Now, it's important. These improvements are part of the core of Android N, so that the entire ecosystem can benefit. What that means for developers is there are going to be a lot of Daydream-ready phones. In fact, Samsung, Alcatel, Asus, Huawei, HTC, LG, Xiaomi, and ZTE all will have smartphones that are compatible with the Daydream-ready spec, and several will be available this fall. So that's phones with Daydream-ready phone specs and the VR optimizations as part of Android N. Let's turn to headsets. Now, this is obvious, but a VR headset is something that you